Dave here, and we're going to start the third part of the CRM Mashup series. Now, there's a thing. The third part is kind of large because we have a decision or a choice to make. I already know where we're going to go with this, but I want to be sure that I show you that there are options, and there are always options on how to do things differently. So what we're going to do is we're going to break this up. So think of this as 3A. We're going to actually use a SharePoint column this time, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn on versioning for the list and then allow it to append to the notes. So every single time I create a new change in a record in this list, so in this case it would be for the contacts, I would end up making a change in the notes section, and then what it'll do over time is it'll append. There are some limitations, and we'll get into that, but let's jump in and show you how to set it up, and then we can go from there. For simplicity's sake, what I've done is create a test list so that way we can just play around with it however we feel. I just want to show you how simplistic it truly is. So what we have here is the fun word, which is actually the title column. And then what we're going to do is actually look at stacked notes. Why did I call it stacked notes? It's kind of what it is. As you can see, I have my important record here. If we view the entries, we can see the way it works. It almost looks like a 1997 AOL instant messaging system where you have the name, the date capture, followed by a colon, the whatever information I've filled in this particular column when I actually made the change or I created or whatever the case may be. As you can see here, the first one I created a cold call, talked about what I did, then I did something different. I just sent an email. The third time I did a warm call because they know who I am now. And so therefore I have this. And you can see it's in reverse, and I can scroll all the way down and I can go backwards and kind of keep an eye on how things are. This is a viable way to actually approach the whole concept of a CRM. Your customers are your lifeline, and you want to make sure you're constantly in their thoughts. And the way you do that, and, I know you all hate getting a junk email and stuff like that. I get it, but this is part of the CRM process. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's lunch and learns, or maybe it's webinars. Whatever the case may be, you have to capture how often you do it. You don't want to overdo it, and you don't want them to say, you know what, you're bothering me way too much, I want to get rid of you. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you are keeping up a somewhat positive relationship with these potential clients or these clients that you've had in the past, but hope to garner new business over time. So as you can see here, this is really good. But like I told you, there are strengths and there are weaknesses to this approach. The strength is it's all in one thing. So we only have to go to the contact that we're interacting with, and all that information is going to be right there. So instead of important record, for example, we could have the customer information. And the reason why I say that is because of the very fact that what could transpire is we could use a list that I created in the second of the series, the CRM Mashup series, just modify it. What we'll do is we'll add a multi-line column to the customer's contact list, and that way what will end up happening is we'll be able to actually do this form of data capture of what we're doing. Now understand this, you can see I forgot to highlight cold call. Well, I can't go back and change it because it's a different version, and what will end up happening is it'll make a fourth version. It's a mess. So sure, we can say, all right, we could do it this way. We can say this is what's expected, whether it's a cold call, invitation to webinar, Whatever the case may be, we want that first highlighted, followed by a colon, and then some notes on what actually truly transpired. Thoughts, suggestions, ideas, observations even as to what our client or customer wants or potentially wants. So that's where we go from there. Now let's go right into the list settings and see what's going on behind the scenes. Okay, here we are in the settings for this list that I created on the fly just to show you how things are working. The first thing you have to do before you add the field is to go into version settings and make sure versions are turned on. As you can see, I have created a version each time you edit this item in this list. Yes. I also have it as 50 versions. So that's something else you want to keep in mind. Depending on how many versions you keep, that's how many times you're going to see or be able to capture the information before it gets pushed out from the top. Let's see, newest on top. It keeps getting pushed down to the bottom, then out the bottom. So you've got to be absolutely certain this is the way you want to go. So in this case, we're saying we want to just have the last 50 of the history between us and our client or our customer. Now, in a case where we're only reaching out to each of our clients or customers, let's say once a month, well, 50 is pretty decent. That's just 4 years into what, 2 months? So that's not too bad. However, that being said, that's also not enough. Long story short, you're kind of limiting what is possible with the versioning settings. So you got to keep that in mind, and you will have to set that at a number that's more comfortable for you. But remember, the more you do raise that number, the more it's going to affect the quality and the speed of which things are going to be brought back up, because it's going to have to turn and burn a lot more things. Okay, here we are in the stacked notes column that I created, and I wanted to point out why I had to turn on the version control. First thing you want to know, it's multiple lines of text. That's an absolute necessity. Second, you can go with plain text, rich text, or enhanced rich text. Usually in a case like a CRM, you're going to want to be able to put links in there, or email in there where you can click on the email and automatically have Outlook come up with the email already with the to that particular email you clicked on. The biggest thing that I want to point out is append changes to existing text. This is where the magic happens. That cannot turn on. That will remain on off and actually grayed out if version control is not turned on. It is absolutely essential, and SharePoint will not allow you to actually turn this append changes to existing text on until you actually have the version control turned on. So something to keep in mind. Now, I know I could have probably spiral into using a SharePoint list for the communications and the contacts between the customer. However, I wanted to keep this short per my promise at the beginning of this particular series, and I wanted to keep it so that these are more bite sizes so you can process and actually ask questions in the chat below. So please feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions, concerns. If I skipped over something entirely that you're like, wait a minute, I missed something here, feel free to do that. I will either create a short or a secondary video to ensure that I cover those areas. Or maybe it's something that I haven't even touched upon or covered yet that I or may not even have known. It's like, oh, have you tried it this way? Like I told you in the welcome to my channel video, I have no problem coming up with some new video content for something that you may have asked for. So do not be afraid to leave that in notes as well. Hopefully this was quite helpful to you in the third Part A installment of the Microsoft CRM Mashup series. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you again really soon.